Red. Cool.
Red.
Perfect.
Right.
Alrighty. So I'm just going to run through these 10 questions. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Feel free to answer in any way you'd like. I know some of these are probably going to be more personal. Some of them are probably just going to be more generalized. Just trying to get some information on registered dietitian and actually sports dietitian more specifically. So question 1, what is your official job title? And can you tell me the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
Yes. So official job title is a registered dietitian. Each state, some states you can use like licensed nutritionist, but it gets a little confusing because like a nutritionist is not a dietitian. So I just kind of stay away from that all the time. Like I'm just a registered dietitian. And the biggest difference is like dietitians as of this year, I believe, 2023, it is now required to have your master's degree. So previously it was a bachelor's degree and now it is a master's degree. So you have to have like certain coursework, you have to hit certain classes, and then you have to complete an internship as well. Unpaid, unfortunately. And that was, I think, 1,200 hours. And then you have to sit for your board, take the exam, pass it, and then you're a dietitian. And then also maintaining CEUs as well.
Nice. Sounds very similar to what I do.
Yeah.
About the same kind of way to get it. So what is so the difference is because of the master's and the education?
Yes, the education is the biggest piece. And when it comes to a nutritionist, like you can go to an online course for like 2 hours, or you could take a 2-week course. You could take a 6 months course, but like it's not like an actual degree in something. So yeah, education is the biggest thing.
Okay, perfect. I was looking at an ISSA nutritionist. Do you know anything about that? Just curious about that a little bit.
No, tell me.
Know about that? I just know that it's also something where it's just you don't have to have a degree, but you can take it. And I was just looking at it, obviously, as a strength and conditioning coach to be able to make general recommendations. But I know I'm never going to take that step to be a registered dietitian because of the internship, and I'm not looking for that career. But,
Okay. No, that's interesting. I should look into that.
Yeah, I just knew it was something like a nutritionist that was like kind of reputable, but not a dietitian. But,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still not the same level, obviously, with the education. This one kind of combines into what we talked about. What education and/or training did you have that helped you to get to your current position?
Mm-hmm. So I guess like I'll give you a little bit of background. Like my bachelor's was in dietetics, and then my master's was in nutrition and exercise science. So with that, my master's was combined with my internship. So it was essentially like a year of coursework with the 1,200 hours. And the classes are anything from like chemistry, biology, biochem, public health, food service, human resources. Like it's just like a massive like hodgepodge of like random courses. But I guess like the field is so diverse. So you have to make sure that you are competent in like the clinical aspect, medical nutrition therapy. You have to make sure that you're competent in public health and like all the federal guidelines, and then food service as well. So it's
awesome.
a variety of things.
Yeah, lots of experience associated with the job, I see. What does a typical day look like for you?
So I work with the United States Air Force, and my days are a little bit different, which is what I really like about the job. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm seeing patients in the clinic. So it can be anything from weight management to hypertension, diabetes, all that fun stuff. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, I'm out like in the squadrons, and that can look different. Like today was kind of a different day. Like I helped with a ruck. So I was up at 6:30 in the morning making eggs for this ruck, and then I ran the ruck with them, and then I did end up seeing 2 patients. But yeah, every day is so different. I do a lot of in-body testing, so I'll take the in-body or the body composition testing machine to the squadrons, which I think they really like, and then I'll just do a lot of presentations and just like health promotion in general.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I've done an in-body, and I really like it too, a lot. We also use Bod Pod and then DEXA with Monument, and then Bod Pod with BH.
Yeah.
So yeah, very hard to get into though. I think in-body is a little bit easier to apply to a squadron of however many you have.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
What's the favorite part of your job?
I would say my favorite part of this job specifically is how every day is different. and it's a very unique population as well. Like some days it's the clinic, some days it's just doing a presentation. So I love that aspect. And then weight management, I did kind of start to find a joy in. Like previously, I did not like weight management at all, but I like maybe 75% of my patients that I see have to do with weight management. And that's because if they're in the Air Force active duty, there's certain standards that they have to meet. So they are required to come to me. They're required to come to my classes. So I do like that aspect. And I also see dependents as well. So I get peds over 12, some retirees, but then it gets confusing because then they either go like Medicare or the VA. So yeah.
Lots of different areas and aspects that they go to out there.
Yeah.
That's wild. But I guess they have to listen to you. So that's also
Yeah,
kind of nice to have that compared to people who actually
Yeah.
do it out of their own pocket, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big thing. Because if they're like, for instance, the waist measurement was brought back a couple of months ago. Like pre-COVID, they still did it, but after COVID, they took it away. Just because like essentially all Air Force bases were closed down. They didn't have access to gyms. So they're just like, okay, we're just going to put that away for a little while. So they brought it back, and it's a measurement of their waist compared to their height. And if they're flagged as like high risk, medium risk, then they are required to see me. And if they get a year to have a acceptable measurement, I guess. And if they don't, then ultimately they can be kicked out of the Air Force. But so that's enough of a reason.
Oh, no, that's
Listen
awesome.
to me.
No, that's awesome. And also to have that to utilize. I wish we had that at our facilities at BH. Tried to work out something with that. Eventually, hopefully it'll come that way. What's the least favorite part of your job? I think you kind of went over it a little bit, but.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel like just like anybody in healthcare in general, the charting. But that's like, you can't do anything about it, you know. It's just half of my day is spent charting, which is fine. But I would say the other downside to my job is I feel like nutrition, like if you hop on social media, like there's a million different things. And I have these poor patients that come into my office and they're like, what do I do? Do I do keto? Do I do the carnivore diet? Do I do this? Do I do that? And sometimes it's like so frustrating and sad to kind of be like, just erase your mind. Like none of that is important. Like just go back to the basics, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Yeah, that's a hard piece for sure. And then obviously like nutrition, there's like a mental component to that too. And I feel like eating disorders are like, even in the military, like they are quite prevalent, unfortunately. So that can kind of be a struggle to work with a patient. And obviously you team up with mental health and their provider, all that. But that's something that I didn't realize I would see so much of. And same with like my previous job when I was seeing a lot of athletes and sports in general. I did not realize how many people suffer from eating disorders or disordered eating in general. So originally after graduation, I really had no interest in eating disorders. And now I just see the amount of people affected by it. And I'm like, okay, I could see myself diving a little bit deeper into this and getting certified to see eating disorder patients. But we'll see where that goes.
What kind of certification would that entail to make it different from being a registered dietitian?
Yeah, it's a really tricky thing to obtain because you have to, I can't remember the exact hours, but I think you have to have like 200 or 300 hours working under somebody that's already certified. And like in this geographical location, the closest eating disorder treatment center is Denver, I believe. So that would require me to take like 3 weeks off of work, no more than that, 6 weeks off of work, and go down to Denver, not be paid, all of that stuff. And so it's tricky to get, but it can be done.
Yeah, no, I was definitely I was looking into that with the registered dietitian. I was like, is there even like there was only like 150 places in the nation where you could actually intern at, and I was like, I don't think there's one that exists in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was like, you'd have to find a special person for that. What are 3 adjectives you would use to describe your job?
Ooh, I feel like compassionate is one, because I get patients in all the time, and like I said, food is a very emotional thing. So I have a lot of patients that come into my office and they kind of just like unload everything. So I have a lot of people that like cry in my office, and you have to be caring, you have to be compassionate, obviously, because sometimes it's not as easy as like exercise more, eat less. Like there's something maybe underlying going on there that you really have to dig into. So I'd say that's one thing. What would be another one? I'm trying to think of the word. Adaptable, perhaps. Because depending on which area you're working in, like for me, I see patients of all types because I'm the only dietitian on base. So I'll see them for weight management, I'll see them for medical nutrition therapy, for food sensitivities, for all of this different stuff. So it's new every day, again, which I like. And then, what's another one? What did I say? Adaptable? Compassionate.
Adaptable and compassionate.
Oh gosh, what's another one? I would say.
How do you keep people, I'm trying to say dedicated, but dedicated, consistent. How do you keep people consistent? That's something I would maybe say. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's always the struggle. And I wish that it was an easy answer.
No.
Like for some people, is that like I'm just their accountability buddy, and they know what they have to do. They know that they have to go to the gym. They know that they should be eating healthy. For some people, maybe they should be tracking their macros. For other people, not. So for the most part, like people know what to do. It's just actually implementing it. So sometimes it's just to check in with me every 2 weeks, month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And then for other people, it's like the education side of things. It's like, oh, you have hypertension. Like maybe we should go on a low salt diet. Like, do you know how to read a food label? And like actually going through the food label with them. Again, it's always different.
Oh, yeah. So compassionate, adaptable, and accountable.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, we could say accountable.
Accountable.
Empathetic, maybe I should throw
Empathetic,
that.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Compassionate, empathetic. I like that.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I definitely can see where it obviously is catering to the client, but also keeping them on track to their goals.
Yeah, and just like healthcare in general, you have to show empathy to patients. And one thing I did not realize when I was going through school, like we had one class that was geared towards like counseling skills. I had no idea like how much of my job I like counsel patients. And obviously like staying in like my scope and everything, but to just sometimes patients like just want to be heard too. Sometimes I sit there for 60 minutes and say a couple of words and my patient just talks and talks and talks, which is fine. Like that's absolutely fine. So the empathy is probably actually like one of the biggest ones.
Did you take a lot of psychology classes or something where it is mostly related to that, almost with the counseling kind of aspect? I kind of wonder where that plays into part.
Not a ton, actually. I guess like general psychology. I think I took 1 or 2 counseling classes. And I feel like looking back, if I could like talk to my professors or anybody, I'd be like, really emphasize this. Like let students know that this is like a major piece of their job. Because then there's other, like I had to take like a human resources class, which is fine. I don't use that at all right now. But I wish I had more classes on the counseling aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wonderful for education. Maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe they'll change that with the master. So
yeah, we'll see.
Question number 7. What kind of characteristics does someone need to be successful with your current position? Kind of similar to what we just asked, but.
Gosh, in my current position, I feel like kind of going back to like adaptable. Like for instance, last week I brought the in-body out to one of the squadrons. And this is a squadron that like you have to go through a gate, you have to have somebody escort you in, all these different things. And I get out there and then all of a sudden they're doing an exercise. So it's like all hands on deck. And I'm just like standing there with my in-body, just like watching people like run around. It's like, okay, that's just not going to happen today, which is fine. Because there's bigger and better things than just me getting an in-body measurement. And going back to the adaptability again, I guess like talking to somebody about weight management. And then my most recent patient at 3:00 today, he had some pretty bad like food allergies. He had his gallbladder removed, so he was struggling with that. PCOS, I see that actually quite a bit. OB. So just having like a general knowledge of everything, because if somebody came into this job and it was like a specialized, like they were like, I am a diabetes educator, then I feel like they would struggle with the other things. There's diabetes, but not as much, like especially in the active duty population.
Yeah, good characteristics. Oh, this is a long question, just so you're prepared for this. So what are the three most important sources that you use to learn about developments in your field? This is kind of a two-part. Let's just start there, and then we'll ask the rest of it.
The first thing I would say is it's called CPSDA. Gosh, what is it? Certified Sports Dietitian something. I can't remember. But so it's any like sports dietitian out there. They're very likely part of this group. So it's really nice to see like what is going on around the country. So, and it can be college dietitians, professional athlete dietitians, tactical dietitians as well. So I do use that very frequently. And I get emails from them all the time. They do a conference, which is nice, where you can network with people. The other one, it's called eatright.org, or the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. That one's just going to have like a bunch of resources when it comes to like literature. It's not like, you do have to have a membership, unfortunately, and it's quite expensive, but that's all right. I feel like everybody is kind of part of those. But do you needed three?
Well, so the second half of that question, which might help you a little bit, are there particular interviews, journals, magazines, conferences that you regularly check out? Like a conference, maybe. Obviously, you have your journal and your group.
Yeah. There's a conference annual. It's called FNCE, FNCE. I wish I knew what it stood for, but it's essentially just like a bunch of dietitians come together, and this is like a massive conference. It's great. The expo is awesome. There's a bunch of different companies that come, and they have products that you can try. So I do go to that. But another kind of area that is becoming more popular to get information from, as long as you're getting it from like reputable sources, but I do have like a select few people on Instagram where I do trust them. So when they come out with something, I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. I need to look into that. So again, it's hard to find though. Like it's really hard to find sources on social media that don't have some type of bias somewhere.
Yeah, I think the same thing with my profession, where it's I just look for the certification and the education. Usually like I'll follow strength coaches and I'll listen to them, or I'll follow someone else who has a degree or knowledge, but I don't really follow a lot of people who are just giving you stuff, even though sometimes it can be useful. But
yeah, it can be interesting to see what people say. But
yeah, I even follow people, like Huberman, who just gives like very broad spectrum of stuff, even though he's not specializing in strength and conditioning. He has very good commentary to put on that, to look into, like you said.
Yeah,
research
absolutely.
stuff. What advice would you give to someone looking to get a job like yours? Maybe the direction too.
I would say, I'm just thinking back to like when I was like a freshman, I guess, and like I fell victim, and anybody that says that they didn't is lying. But like at some point, everybody has kind of fallen victim to something online. So like when I was like, ooh, dietetics looks kind of cool. Like I didn't think that it would be like this. I thought that like my profession would be like actual diets and like telling people like go on a low carb diet, do this, like a detox, that, and that's just like not how it is at all. So if I could tell people to do anything, I would say like find people that you trust, that are educated, they have all of the credentials, and like stick with them kind of. And obviously be aware that like biases do happen, and misinformation can happen no matter who you are. I guess like interpretation of materials can kind of get like tricky, all of that. But like find people that you trust that are like legit in your field. Like I'm trying to think of Lane Norton. Do you know who that is?
I've heard the name, but I don't know it specifically.
So he has like a PhD in like a ton of different things, like exercise physiologist, all this stuff. PhD in nutrition, but I really like him, and I do trust like what he is saying. I feel like he interprets data very well, because it's a hard thing like to interpret. Like I have my master's, but still sometimes like reading a research paper, I'm like, ooh, okay, like let me take a step back. But yeah, finding people like that and not getting distracted by the noise, I guess, of others that are like, do this fad diet, do that fad diet. Sticking to your guns.
Your guns. No, I like that. I like that. What you said about, like obviously finding people with information out there. Recently with my master's, I've kind of been feeling that way, where it's like, I've been doing this for 4 years now, high school and college. And still I look at stuff online and I'm reading this article and I'm like, I have no clue what this is saying.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me feel like I'm not competent in my job, but there's always going to be new stuff. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like in both of our fields, there's so much research happening. And I think a lot of people get frustrated and they get confused when they're like, oh, don't squat with your knees past your toes. Oh, wait, you can do that now? Don't eat eggs. Oh, wait, you can eat eggs now? So I think that people just like need to understand that it's constantly evolving, which it can be a hard thing for people to grasp because they want like a simple answer, easy answer.
It's always hard to stay up with the current literature too when it's not always right there at face value. So it is good that you have those sources and those people to follow. So
yeah, and I guess I did forget about like another resource I have. So the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, like I get a monthly subscription from them that just like sends me a massive amount of like articles and research. So like I get it in the mail and sometimes I just like flip through it and I'm like, oh, like that pertains to my job. Maybe I'll read that one. But that just kind of popped into my head.
No, that's awesome. I feel that I get that same thing from like NSCA and CSCCA.
Yeah.
Yep, they send me all sorts of stuff. This question was actually my question specifically. What are some of the different aspects from working with athletes, general clientele, and I'm actually going to add on to this, and base clientele, so tactical. What is some of the different aspects between each, and also which one do you prefer? Do you prefer general people, or you do prefer athletes or people?
That's a really hard one. I like them all, but for like different reasons. Because sometimes like I had a young airman come in the other day and he was 21 years old and his BMI was like 33. So his PCM was like, yep, I need you to go see the dietitian, just talk with her. And like he had no clue of even like just like general like healthy things. Like he just really didn't have any clue. But honestly, like those are some of my favorite patients because I feel like they haven't been like tainted from all of the just like BS floating around out there. Because some of my patients come in and they're like, wait, you're telling me that I can eat fruit? Like, yes, like carbs aren't bad. Like not all carbs are horrible. So I love those patients where it's just like very general nutrition education. And then it's like the light bulb kind of turns on and they're like, oh, I get it. The tactical side, I do like patients. I feel like just like tactical, general, military, whatever, they're very motivated. So for some people, they come into my office and I'm like, I need you to do this, this, and that. And they're like, done. Then they come back in 2 months and they hop on the InBody again and they're down like 4% in body fat. I'm like, oh, that's great. And sometimes I'll see people that were in my office and then I go to the gym on base and they're there working out and they're like actually like applying things and they're eating a healthy diet. They come up for their follow-up and they're doing excellent. So I just really love compliant patients because a lot of times I don't get that. But that's just what it is. And then what was the other?
So it was just like athlete and general clientele. Like, what's the differences between maybe working with that tactical person versus working with an everyday person with Aaron Eats or,
Yeah. Okay.
some private stuff.
Yeah. The athletes are different because it's like, what is the goal? The goal is to like excel in athletics. And for some people, like distance runners, for instance, like they have to eat a lot of food. Like you have to eat food. Like, and some people will come to me and they're like, but I don't want to eat food. Like I'm not hungry. I'm full. I'm like, but you have a race tomorrow. Like you have to fuel your body. And sometimes like it's not very intuitive to be eating like a lot. And same with like football players also. Like they just have to eat so much. But on the other hand, it's like there's nothing really like intuitive about running a marathon. It's like sometimes you just have to like force yourself to eat it. So in those aspects, like that is very different. But then again, like going back to just like all athletes in general and like eating disorders, that's like, unfortunately, I feel like it's just so prevalent. And I saw a statistic the other day about how it was like 5 to 8% of female athletes, NCAA Division I, have like signs or symptoms of anorexia. Like, it's just like heartbreaking. So education is a big aspect there. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to like their training schedule, and like maybe they're a college athlete and they have weights at 6 a.m. Then they have practice from noon to 3. So it's like, what are you eating before? What are you eating in between? What are you eating after? Because I know some college athletes that show up to their practice at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they're like, yeah, I haven't had anything all day. I'm like, you are doing yourself a major disservice. Like, I don't know if it's the lack of education or just not implementing it. I don't know. So they all have kind of their unique aspects. But yeah, when it comes to athletes, and honestly, like tactical too, like it's what is the end goal? And for tactical, it's like, what is the mission? So you have to maintain a certain standard of physical activity to be in the Air Force, to be in the military. And for some athletics, it's also like that. So yeah, that's a good question.
No, yeah, just was curious about the differences in that. Kind of going off of this now, just some questions personally for me. So relating to the athletes things, I have the same thing, and I'm obviously not, like, I always tell them to go find a nutritionist or a registered dietitian. That's one reason I want to get my ISSA, just because I can make general recommendations because of my education, but I know that I don't know everything. I obviously kind of just use the charts. I actually read about the athlete pyramid the other day and some stuff like that, and so I'm trying to use and elicit stuff. We have Build Your Base. South Dakota. So I've been using that a lot in my play, just kind of referring them to things like that. But I have athletes that come in and just like, oh, I didn't eat, or I didn't do anything. I'm like, well, we have an hour and a half training session and you haven't eaten anything. So it's like, I just sit them over in the corner by the nutrition station. I'm like, you're going to eat this whole thing before you even come to me, so I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Build Your Base, that's a good thing. And I was actually trying to hopefully maybe integrate that into the base somehow.
I think they would be down with that, Melissa and them. I don't know if you've talked with her yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, but you should. I can get you in touch with them. They're really awesome people. I have their number. So
yeah,
obviously I'm not really super close, but they know me because of the college system. They're obviously all across the nation in every collegiate realm now. So I mean, they know us, but I don't know how closely. But what are some resources that you utilize? Obviously, I use my Garmin, my watch, to do my calorie outtake and intake, and then I utilize MyFitnessPal and now Team Builder to watch my intake and my exertion scores. What do you use with your base people? Do you give them like registered diets and stuff like that, where it's like you A, B, C, and D they're eating, or is it just like reference stuff?
It's mostly references, and I do have like other resources. Like I don't give anybody like a meal plan, I guess. So if somebody, because I get that question all the time, they're like, build me a meal plan. I'm like, okay, wait. So typically what it looks like is I have them hop on the InBody. So then like we have some type of baseline information. With that, it has BMR. So then I have them, if they're interested in calorie or macro counting, I give them a variety of options. So like a free one is MyFitnessPal. Unfortunately, the barcode scanner is not free anymore.
Oh,
but
shoot. That sucks.
I have a trick. If you put your location to the UK, it gives it to you for free.
Okay.
Just a little tidbit. And then another app it's called Fat Secret, that has a barcode scanner. Lose It also has a barcode scanner. But then the last one, which I have used, and honestly, I enjoy it the most out of all of them. It's called the Carbon Diet. It is that guy that I was talking about earlier, Lane Norton. It's like his app. And he has a team of exercise physiologists, some exercise professionals, along with registered dietitians. Like they have all come together to create this app. I think it's very user friendly. So I have some patients that do use those. Another one is another app. It's called Intent, Intent. It's free and it creates a meal plan for you. So if you type in, because like one of the worst things about meal plans, like I had to make one in college and I'm not kidding. It took me 2 weeks to make it and it was horrible.
I'm about to do it. So I'm about to.
Good luck. But so this one, because if somebody's like, make me a meal plan, it's like, okay, what are your allergies? What are your likes and dislikes? What's your household size? Do you want leftovers? What's your, do you have to cook on a budget? Like, what's your cooking situation? Are you in the dorms? Are you in a house? Like, there's so many different things. So this app, you can go in and type in, like, if anybody in the family has an allergy to eggs or beef or whatever, then like likes and dislikes, what your household size is, and then like you just hit generate and it pops up with everything. So if somebody's looking for a meal plan, I'm like, here, do this.
Right. Yeah. No, that's definitely something useful. I'm using Chronometer right now for this class. Have you heard of that?
No.
Chronometer. It's kind of just like MyFitnessPal. You can just track it. It doesn't have the barcode scanner, but I can type in stuff. So I just type in all their foods and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have a barcode scanner paywalled,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, it works pretty well. I still use MyFitnessPal. I just think it's always been simple and it actually integrates into all my apps. So I can look at my out and in go with Garmin with MyFitnessPal. I can just see the whole calorie deficit, calorie surplus.
Yeah.
Which I'm usually in a deficit. But
Okay.
I am one of those athletes that you were talking about where it's like I'm just constantly not eating enough, but my demands with my job, I mean, my basal metabolic rate on top of my activity daily, on top of me also lifting, it's just like it's some days it's just really not, I need to get home to do it.
Yeah.
So I've been doing better, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was looking at, there was some study that was published recently. And they were talking about like the calorie output, like when you're working out, and they estimate that it like overshoots it by a lot. And I was like, oh.
I've read the same study. I know exactly what you're talking about. These heart rate monitors aren't exactly an accurate science, and I know that that's true. It's just an estimation range.
Yeah,
so
which is nice. I feel like that's just all people need. Like if you want to get like super precise, there's different ways to go about it.
I think it's better when it's not on your wrist. I know that the ones that are strapped are a little bit more accurate, but even then I'm kind of like, sometimes I look at my calorie output and I'm like, there's no way that I'm supposed to be at 5,000 or something right now. I'm like, am I eating like I'm Michael Phelps, where I'm eating a 8 to 10,000 calorie diet? Like I'm not working that hard. Like maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Is there anything else that you think specifically I should know about the registered dietitians or the realm in general?
Yeah, I guess one thing I did leave out that's like kind of important to all of this. So sports dietitians in general, to be like a certified sports dietitian, you have to take a test and you have to pass it. It's kind of like the CSCS in a way. It's called the CSSD, so Certified Specialist in Sports Dietetics.
Yep.
Sorry. And I'm currently studying for that. You do, to qualify to take it, you have to be a dietitian for 2 years and have like 500 plus hours in the sports dietetics realm, I guess you could say. So if somebody wants to be a sports dietitian, like that's the path that they have to take. They have to be a dietitian for 2 years, then they have to take that exam. And, excuse me, but it's not like there's not a lot of sports dietitians out there. I don't even know if there's one in the state of South Dakota.
I don't think there is.
Which is pretty crazy. There was one, but she took a different job. So, yeah, geographically, there's not a lot of options, I guess. And it's my hope that like one day, like Black Hills State will have their own sports dietitian, School of Mines and South Dakota State and all these different schools. Like that's my hope. And I think that's the way it should be. I remember talking with the soccer team and I was just like, oh my gosh, like some of these girls like really need help. And So.
And I even like, I'll give them recommendations, but they don't want to listen to me. And I always tell them, personally, I'm just like, go talk to Aaron or somebody who knows what they're doing. Go get a specialist.
Yeah.
And that's where me, it's like, I love to make recommendations. I give them the My Plate. I give them the Build Your Base. We bring in nutritionists with Build Your Base, actually.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or maybe it might be a registered dietitian. I don't know. But we bring in people that do classes.
Okay.
But it's only once a year. And it's just like, we don't have anyone that can do the interventions that you do, like on base. And I know it's a budget thing, and I know a lot of D1s have it, but I do really believe in that. And I was reading through my coursework that registered dietitian is kind of, or registered sport dietitian with that certification is relatively new.
Yes,
so there aren't a
it
lot.
is.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. But like any dietitian out there, like NBA, MLB, NHL, like those dietitians are going to be like certified in that, which is good. But yeah, it's a newer aspect for sure. And with all of the changes coming to like, now you have to have your master's degree, I think it adds credibility to dietitians. I just hope it doesn't turn people away, the thought of 6 years of schooling.
Well, I mean, I'm in that kind of point right now, and it's kind of turning me away.
Yeah.
No, it's the same way with strength and conditioning. I mean, even now, like I've been doing it for 4 years, and I still haven't gotten to a lead role in the profession. You know, and there's no introductory level at all. It is just grind until you get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yep.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's it. That's all I can think of.
All right, well, perfect. Well, thanks for talking with me. I really
Yeah,
appreciate you
no problem.
doing this interview, answering these questions. If there's anything else you need from me, please let me know. So.
All right, perfect.
All right, thank
Sounds
you.
good.
All righty.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
No problem.